Hi, right, so as part of this Absolute Beginner series, I'm now going to show you how to start off a project in the circle. The first I'm going to show you are the different ways to form the circle. So the way I prefer is to hold my yarn on my two fingers. Can I just zoom out a little bit? So I lay the yarn across my palm of my hand, hold it with my thumb, wrap it around my first two fingers, cross it over as I go onto the back of my fingers, and then just hold it with my ring finger. Then I put my yarn, my hook under my first piece of yarn, grab my second piece of yarn and pull it through. I twist to keep a hold of that, and then I pick up this piece of yarn here, twist to keep a hold of that and pull it through. And what I've essentially done then, I can move my fingers out, is I've made myself a slip knot with a big loop, and that is my magic ring. And I can pull the straggler and I can make the ring smaller. And usually what you do after making a magic ring is you chain one just to lock it into place. And that's it. That's how easy it is to make a magic ring. So I'll show you again. Yarn over my two fingers, wrap it around the back of my fingers, cross it over, and then, oh sorry, was out of shot there. Lay it on my fingers, just wrap it around, hold it with my thumb, wrap it around my fingers, cross it over, and then just secure it with my ring finger. Hook in, pull the second piece of yarn through, turn the hook, so you've got a loop on your hook, and then let that slide down your hook slightly and go pick up this piece of yarn here, turn your hook to keep a hold of it and pull it through that loop and then turn. And then you can take your fingers out, pull your little straggler out, and you've got your magic ring. Okay? So that's how to make a magic ring. And then to sew into the magic ring, imagine we're going to sew in double crochets. We bring it up to the height, so we've got 3 stitches on a chain here, and then we'd yarn over, and we just, I'm not going to go into the details on the stitch here, but we just sew into that ring, like so, like so. Okay, and that's what we're doing. That would make a circle, and then when that had made a circle, we'd just pull it tight, and we'd have a nice tight sort of starting point. But you'll see that in other projects. I just want to show you how to actually make the ring. Another way to start crocheting in the round, I've got a knot in my yarn, is to do your slip knot as normal. We've got a video on that, haven't we? And then to do a chain. Now the pattern will tell you how many stitches to put in your chain. So a lot of them start with a chain 4. So 3, 4. So we've got a chain of 4. We've done the video on the slip knot. We've done the video on making a chain. And now what you do is you go into your first chain. So remember how we count stitches by this V shape. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going into my first chain. I'm going to go right into the middle of it. I'm going to just zoom in so you can see exactly where I'm going with this. Go right into the middle of the stitch. So in between, you know, we talked about the front loop and the back loop. Going right in between those, and then pick up some yarn, pull it through, and then pull it through the loop on the hook, and then we end up with a circle. And what we do is, if you just pull it apart a little bit, there's a hole in the middle. Can you see that? There's a hole in the middle there, and that's where we'll stitch into using this method. Just be really careful. When you do pull it apart, you can see a little bit of a hole here, but that's where your stitches, that's sort of a natural hole where your stitches are joined. It's this bigger hole here that we want, that's in the centre. Okay, so be careful to stitch into that. So I'll just show you again. Start off, we'll chain 4, 1, 2, 3 and 4. Then we'll go back to our 4th stitch, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Push our hook right into the middle of that stitch, pick up the yarn, pull it through, and then pull it through again. Now this is where we can make a mistake regarding our hole. Our hole is actually here. Okay, so the hole is there. So just make sure that you've got a whole stitch on the side of the hole there, and then we'll stitch into here. And again, this can be pulled tight. And the final way of stitching in the round is to start as usual, the slip knot onto the hook, and then to chain 2. Now if we're doing single crochets we'd chain 2, if we were doing half doubles we'd chain 3, and if we were doing doubles we'd chain 4, but I'm going to do a single crochet, and there are videos on the different stitches on the channel. So what I do is I'm going to do a single, so I just go into the first stitch, so I'm going to go in right in between those 2 parts of that stitch, pull up some yarn and finish my stitch. So I've done a single crochet into the first chain, and then all of my stitches will go into that first chain, and then that will eventually be just the same as crocheting in the round on by either of the other methods. So again, just to show you, obviously you can rewind and watch it as many times as you like. We're just going to chain 2, and then this is the first stitch, this is the second stitch. This loop on the hook doesn't count as a stitch. This is stitch 1, this is stitch 2. I'm going to go right into the middle of stitch 2, and we're going to pull yarn through, yarn over, and pull through the 2 loops, and then we'll put all of our stitches in there and we'll end up with a circle. So there's those 3 ways of starting off crocheting in the round. Thanks for watching, and I hope you found that useful.